Alright, so you're thinking about owning an English Mastiff. Come look at me, girl. Here's something to look out for. Down, down, slobber. They will slobber and slobber. Well, there's something else. They will slobber and they will slobber and they will slobber. And they're so pretty though. They are pretty. They're also gonna eat a lot. I mean, if I was being frugal, I think years ago it cost about 75 bucks a month on average to feed a dog. But you have to add in vet care, and if food prices increase, and of course we free serve just as a baseline so they can actually eat as much as they want. And then we just add treats on top of that, or soft food, or whatever it is they need go on top of that. So you figure 100 bucks a month per dog as a baseline, and then potentially more than that. So, and especially if one of them is pregnant or feeding puppies or something, it does cost a lot to feed these dogs. And you will have slobber, you'll have shedding, and they're just big. So if you have small kids, you need to consider that they may mean no harm whatsoever and still be big enough to knock your kid over when they're just playing. Those are some of the drawbacks to owning English Mastiffs. However, we have found that most, if not all of the puppies that we sell, and we haven't had puppies in like 3 years or 4 years, but when we were selling puppies, and we're hoping to start again eventually, most of those puppies went to people who had already owned an English Mastiff or a giant breed. So there's a very loyal clientele. And what that means is that once people own English Mastiffs, they like to keep owning English Mastiffs. The first one passes and they get a replacement because you just get hooked to the breed. So while I have told you about some of the drawbacks, there's also the benefits, which are they're protective. If you have a well-trained, well-socialized one from a good bloodline, they can be very sweet. However, their size and intimidating bark can scare people off your property. So they're very protective. They're also a guardian. They're a guard dog breed. So they don't tend to run away, at least in my experience. If you have one that's not acclimated to your property, it might run away. But if they know their boundaries, they are probably going to stay local. You do still have to supervise if you have them out off leash like this, just in case. But we had a male, not this one, but a previous male that we had. He broke out of his pen and he just stayed. Like, you found him again on the property. It was his home base. Once they know where their food and their shelter is, and if you take good care of them, like, obviously you can't mistreat them. But let's see here. We had another female. She broke out of her pen, and we were across country at the time and had to drive home. And I think we drove through the night, and there she was, just hanging out by her pen. I think she actually broke back into her pen. So you need to make sure they have good living conditions. We like to give them space to exercise without even needing to be let out, and then let them out for exercise on top of it. And then if you have multiples, you do have to be able to divide them. If you have multiples, you do have to be able to divide them when somebody comes into heat. If you don't want a breeding, you have to divide the male from her. Or if there's another female, she might get into a fight with another female.
Oh, look at her, baby.
We do have a dog in heat right now, but she's not ready to be bred. It's not one of these, it's another one.
Well, they like each other.
Is that the one that's been living with him? And if you can believe it, so these are 2 females and that's our male. They're about the same age. He might be a couple of months older, but he's not all that much older. They just turned a year old, and he was 8 weeks old around the end of November last year. I can't say last year anymore. I have to say the year before last, because it's the new year. Happy New Year's, everybody. Can you call them back, babe? Because they're...
I'm not afraid of them. Come on, baby.
Anyway, so if he was born, so at the end of November, October, so he would have been born at the end of September, and these ones just turned a year old, I think, in November or December. So October, November. So he might be a couple of months older than them, but he is not much older, but he's a lot bigger. And that is actually what we want, because we made an expensive mistake in 2025. It was a 2020, what was it, a 2024 mistake? Yeah. This new year is getting me all... Anyway, so in 2024, we bought a stud. He was too short for our girls, and I was having to learn AI and made dumb mistakes, so we got no puppies in 2025. So our branding, our positioning is, I was raised by a farmer, right? I think that animals need to be bred to reproduce naturally.
We're bringing out the puppy.
They need to be able to reproduce naturally, and they need to be able to whelp naturally. I don't mind giving a little assistance, but I like to stay away from C-sections. So I'm having to learn the AI stuff, but I don't want to have to use it if it's not necessary. So anyway, now we have a male. We intentionally bought one that was going to grow out to be bigger, and that's exactly what we want, so that he can reach. And so what's really exceptional about this situation is that these are actually from our bloodline. These girls are... Is he? I think one of them might